So I did a little bit of stream regarding the Honest Trailer Senior Vice President Signore. A little bit of refresher, he was suspended from Screen Junkies due to multiple allegations from women, and here are some of those if you want to go read them. There are also screenshots of DMs being released in the conversation between him and one of the accuser. It shows that he is one very smooth talker. Some people like Chris Tuckman moved forward to verify one of the stories, saying that he knew the boyfriend of one of the accuser who is working with Screen Junkies and was threatened to be fired if the accuser didn't speak out about the incident. Today we have an update, and that update is Signore, the Senior Vice President of Screen Junkies, is permanently fired. The official statements are as follows.
Defy Media and Screen Junkies have today terminated Signore's employment effective immediately. There is simply no justification for this egregious and intolerable behavior. In August, Defy's HR team was made aware of allegations made against Andy, at which time an investigation was launched. On Friday, new information became available, and the scope and magnitude of these inappropriate actions became apparent. We are acting swiftly to address the concerns of the people affected, and that going forward, our community is free of harassment or discrimination of any kind. Our Screen Junkies colleagues and freelancers are a team of remarkable creators, serving loyal fans, and we will support and protect them. If anyone else is aware of behavior of this type, we would encourage them to bring it to our attention.
Yep. They just straight up fired him, and the reports were made all the way back in August, which is rather concerning, isn't it? It took them a month to do an investigation for this. Why is the investigation only starting in August? That does kind of imply a rather concerning atmosphere in the workforce of Screen Junkies, isn't it? I don't really know the atmosphere working there, but hopefully it's not to the point where reporting sexual abuse to the police is a hopeless cause. Now, there are a couple of DMs in which he's not only horrendous at flirting, but he doesn't really care if the person is in a relationship or not. He just puts in the move anyway. I wouldn't really call this sexual assault, but I do think that this is rather inappropriate. These DMs are all the way back in 2016, and Signor is married as confirmed by someone who is working for him. Again, the DMs are not sexual assault, but it is quite inappropriate to make these sorts of moves when you're married. Now, I don't think that this entire conversation is a representation of his character, but piled that up with the allegations that the other women made, and it became rather concerning. Now, I've heard from people that DMs can be faked, which is true. They absolutely can, and it's a lot easier than you thought. So, at this very moment, the best thing that I can say through all of these allegations made by the women who come forward and the screenshots of the DMs is that there isn't a hard evidence to completely verify these allegations, or at least hard evidence that are made public. One of the women who came forward, April, said that there are like 20 women who reach out to her and explain their experiences. I would love for these women to come forward and tell their stories, because if their stories add up, it would make a pretty strong case against Signor. But unfortunately, doing so is asking for something that is rather private, and I've learned from experience that there are some things that are better off not made public. So at this moment, since Screen Junkies fired him straight up, and the evidence is still at the hands of Screen Junkies themselves, the best thing that I can do is just to take their words for it. Trust but verify. And unfortunately, I'm still stuck at the verifying part. If there are new hard evidence made public to this entire thing, I would definitely update this video, and maybe leaning into either believing that this is nonsense or believing that this is true. Now, I will clarify that my position on this entire thing is basically trust but verify. I will accept the validity of their claims, but I would love to see more verification on these matters. I'm open to new information that can lead into a hard case against Signor, or maybe even for him. However, from this point on, this video will be made with the assumption that all of the claims and allegations are true. For now, I'm going to accept the words of Screen Junkies and the words of the women who came in forward. I will accept that Signor is not only horrendous at flirting, but is also a sexual predator. What the hell is going on? Now, I don't usually cover up sexual assaults or allegations of it, but this is concerning Honest Trailer, and I love Honest Trailer. They are amazing. However, they made moves that I find rather distasteful, and I do think that some of their side content are not that interesting, so I unsubscribed from them months ago. And one of these dumb moves are quite relevant for our topic of today. Since Signor was the Senior Vice President of Screen Junkies, it's safe to assume that he has a significant control over Screen Junkies, which means it's safe to assume that he is also responsible for the GamerGate joke back on the Honest Trailer for Wreck-It Ralph. GamerGate, if you guys don't know, is a movement for ethical standards in video game journalism, but every video game journalist and mainstream media has misrepresented it to be a movement to drive women out of gaming. Apparently, GamerGate is a movement from gamers that hate women, and this joke over here implies that gamers who are in GamerGate hate women in video games, specifically the female character from the video game in Wreck-It Ralph, which is absolutely far from the truth. Do you people seriously think that gamers hate women, both in video games and in real life? The character in Wreck-It Ralph is essentially a Rule 63 of Master Chief, aka Samus Aran, one of the most popular and beloved video game characters of all time. How can gamers in general hate women when they made Metroid to be a very successful game? Please explain to me why GamerGate is a hate movement, then I can accept this joke as funny. Now, as someone who heavily enjoys Honest Trailer, this drama is pretty damn freaking old. I want to put this dumb and silly joke that they made in the past, and doing so has managed to completely make me enjoy their content once again. And that's all I want. I want their content. I don't want any of their virtue signaling nonsense. But then this drama unfolds and I just cannot help but to look back at this segment. The reason is because this segment encapsulates the virtue of the entirety of Screen Junkies. And yes, I will say the entirety of Screen Junkies. The trailer is posted on their channel. Every single person who are working on that trailer reviewed said trailer before posting it into their channel, and they said yes to the GamerGate joke. So this is just a way for you to virtue signal that you respect women. People at Screen Junkies treat women well. That's why we condemn GamerGate. That's why we condemn hate towards women in gaming. Well, look how that turned out. This is why I want you all to just for a moment take Screen Junkies' words in their face value. This is why I want you to believe the allegations that the women made towards Signore and Screen Junkies, because this is what they want you to believe. They want you to believe that Signore, who is the senior vice president of Screen Junkies, is a sexual predator. If you believe them and take them in their face value, their GamerGate joke that I thought was really damn stupid and virtue signaling nonsense is now a really damn funny dark humor. This highlights the amount of moral grandstanding that the Honest Trailer team are willing to go through to prove themselves that they're virtuous and good people who respect women, while some of the people in their camps are doing the most horrendous things that go against their virtues that they espouse by being disrespectful towards women. In other words, it's like if you accuse someone of murder, telling the public that murdering people is wrong, but then you yourself are being charged for murder. And all of that is if you believe them. They clearly wanted people to believe their story. If you don't believe them and you are being very cynical, then you would think that this is just a case of women making allegations with unverifiable evidence towards Signore, with a lot of his friends just listening and believing towards what the women say. I am skeptical, but not to that degree. I am willing to take your words for it and verify it as much as I could. But either way, you are screwed, Screen Junkies. It doesn't look good if you believe them, and it doesn't look good if you are being skeptical towards them. So now I want to get into a rather interesting tweet made by Alicia Malone. This tweet has spawned a rather interesting discussion, and I think it's valuable if you have that discussion here. So be civil in the comments, guys. I know that will backfire, but I'm going to say it anyway.
I've had many messages over the past few days from viewers asking me how they can help to eradicate sexism, sexual harassment, assault, and abuse of power towards women in the YouTube film community.
Wow. So there is a term for that. Skeptic community and now the film community. That's interesting. I do want to ask what kind of sexism, sexual harassment, or assault that you're facing in the YouTube film community. And keep in mind that she is referring to the YouTube film community, not sexism in people who love films, not sexism in gamers, sexism in the YouTube film community. She's referring to sexism happening at big movie review channels on YouTube, or the big channels that talk about movies, and one of them is of course Screen Junkies. Since I'm not a part of that community or familiar with the content that the YouTube film community made, with the exception of Jeremy Jahns, Chris Stuckman, and Your Movie Sucks, I don't really know if there actually is sexism in the YouTube film community, so for now, I'm going to have to take her words for it. And if there is, and it's rampant, Jesus freaking Christ. Now, I know that some of you might look at this in a more cynical perspective, but at this moment, I think being more open-minded is more productive, mostly because I really want to know the forms of sexism that these women face. Maybe I'm being too open-minded, but that's just me. I am willing to be wrong, so let me screw up and learn my own lessons, okay?
Obviously, there's much work to be done. I, perhaps optimistically, do believe change is coming, that this kind of behavior will become harder to get away with as more of the great people working inside these channels start to realize what has been going on. But that's all on the inside. So as far as the viewers are concerned, here's how you can help.
From this point on, she will provide ways for the viewers in how to help combat sexism or harassment in the YouTube film community. I'm not sure why she has to ask the viewers when she said that the issue is among the big YouTube film channels, but let's carry on for now.
As we know, YouTube channels live and die by subscriber numbers and viewer numbers. This means your voice as a fan is important.
Well, here I am.
So I'd suggest anyone who consumes this type of media and wants to help to examine what you watch and ask yourself questions such as, does this channel have women and people of color represented?
No. I am willing to be open-minded, but you are really not helping if you pull that argument off. I don't review movies as much now, but I do provide commentaries in pop culture with a silly avatar and a stupid face, all mixed into a package of terrible videos that thousands of people watch for some reason. And if you can tell through either my accent or the color of my skin, I am not white, and I am not from the West. Also, I am a hell of a lot younger than you guys, so my inexperiences on these issues can also impact some of the validity of my opinions, so do take it with a grain of salt. Regardless, all of the effort that I did on YouTube has gained me 34,000 subscribers as of today. I don't need the help of white people to make myself be represented. I need to make videos that people would love to see. So I need to ask you guys if the women or people of color in your peers have made good content, because I personally think the guys in the film community made far better content. But that's just my opinion. To tell your viewers to watch more and more women or people of color out of virtue or standing up against sexual harassment or abuse is not productive at all. It doesn't help. What would be more productive is just to look at yourself in the mirror. Because as you said, this is your issue. This is the issue among your community. And this is the issues that you have to deal with.
Does this channel have women and people of color represented? If yes, how are they used? Is their role in the show objectified or are they respected for their opinion? Are they given an equal chance to talk? Does it appear that any concerns over the content are taken seriously or laughed at? How long do the women last on the channel? Do they have careers as long as their male counterparts? Or are they replaced? How do these shows talk about women in terms of film characters, etc.?
Okay, let's answer these questions one by one. How are women and people of color used in the channels? Now, let's be specific at Screen Junkies because most YouTube channels are run by individuals. From what I've seen on Screen Junkies, the women and minorities are used appropriately and they're treated on the same level as white people and men. Is their role in the show objectified or are they respected for their opinion? Well, a little bit of both. It's quite rare, but sometimes the objectification came from women themselves, with them either having clothes that revealed their cleavage or other sexy revealing clothes. So I don't think the issue isn't about the men objectifying the women, it's more about the women objectifying themselves. And even if they are objectified by men, they're still respected for their opinion. Are they given an equal chance to talk? Absolutely. Does it appear that any concerns over the content are taken seriously or laughed at? They are not laughed at and they are being taken seriously. How long do the women last on the channel? I'm not sure. I only watch a couple of their live streams and if they stay pretty short, there has to be more reasons beyond than just plain old sexism. Do they have careers as long as they're male counterparts or are they replaced? Well, even if they don't have a career as long as they're male counterparts and or they are replaced, it is not always because of sexism. How do these shows talk about women in terms of film characters, etc.? For the most part, respectably. If they're not talking about them in a respectful manner, you would see lots of dislikes, which a lot of these live streams at Screen Junkies tend to have for some reason.
What is the nature of the comment section towards women? And because YouTube comment sections can be trash fires no matter what the video content is, do you feel action is being taken by the channel to moderate these comments and protect the people being targeted?
Okay. Now we're talking about mean comments found on the internet, and to this I have a couple of things to say. First off, moderating a comment section is absolutely useless. The only way for you to remove the toxicity of the comment section is if you don't screw up and say stupid things. And even if you try to do this as hard as possible, there will still be people who are going to hate you. So the best course of action is just to ignore them and don't read them at all. They are not helping. Any action taken against them will put you into an endless spiral that you will never ever come back from. It's like the devil's snare from Harry Potter.
Stop moving, both of you. This is devil's snare. You have to relax. If you don't, it'll only kill you faster.
Kill us faster? Oh, now I can relax. Hermione, where are you?
Do what I say. Trust me.
You cannot take comments seriously because they're easy to make and they require less effort. You can trust videos a lot more. They might be garbage in quality, but at least the creators are willing to put in the effort of making sure to have their points being said and put them in a video so that people can listen and consider their viewpoints. So don't trust the comments and actually consider the viewpoints of those who are willing to take the effort of putting them in a video.
If you're watching a video and don't feel the women are given equal respect, unsubscribe and contact the channel to let them know that you won't return until this changes.
How do you know that they will? You have unsubscribed to them.
I'm not calling for any vilification or trolling, nor am I pointing fingers at any channels in particular. This is a much broader problem, but you can be a part of the solution. Take the high road, find better material to watch, and trust that these channels do listen to their fans. Every voice helps.
Well, the problem is, even if you're not taking action against vilification of specific channels, you are calling to action. You are asking people to do the things that you want them to do. And even if I agree with your actions, I find it rather confusing that you would suggest people to do these sorts of things in the wake of a news report showing the sexual abuse being done by the senior vice president of arguably one of the biggest channels in the YouTube film community. I still don't get how doing all of these things would help. This is a confusing and incredibly misguided suggestion. So far, regardless of whether or not you believe the allegations are true or false, I think the best course of action is for people like Screen Junkies or maybe the entire YouTube film community to just take a step back for a moment and look at yourselves in the mirror. Have you contributed into this hostile atmosphere? Have you contributed into making this atmosphere more uncomfortable for women or people of color? I find it rather horrifying that these people are making projective character judgments towards their audiences, telling them that they should respect women, minorities, and that they're living in an environment where people just don't respect them. The reality is, it's not the environment of the audiences, it's their own environment, it's their own friends, it's their own sorts of community that has that problem. So you have someone like Signor who says that PewDiePie is contributing into a hostile environment, which PewDiePie rightfully called out. You are also contributing into this hostile environment. You are making things worse for the community. Now, I've talked about how people who are anti-GamerGate or identify as a male feminist have a rather horrifying tendency to just be hostile towards women in general. They love to virtue signal of how they respect women, but in the end, they are disrespectful towards women themselves. They say that the audiences contribute into a toxic community for the women, but it's actually they themselves who are doing it. Chris Stuckman even mentioned Devin Ferrazzi, one of the people who are caught with these sorts of scandals. So I want to ask a couple of questions to these people who are either anti-GamerGate or male feminists or even in Hollywood or a big YouTube film industry like Screen Junkies. Have you ever considered just for 1 second that the toxicity that you constantly preach to people is only happening among the groups of people that you are hanging around with? Have you considered just for 1 second that you are contributing into said toxicity? Please take a moment to look at yourselves in the mirror and ask. There is a huge problem with the community, as you said it yourselves. But it's not the community of movie fans, it's not the community of gamers, it's your own. So please consider this. After all, every voice helps. That's all for the video today. If you like this, you can go ahead, click like button, and subscribe for more. If you wish, you can support me on Patreon. And thanks for watching.